this one's going to linger. Get comfortable. Let the cold fade away. Slow down. Breathe it in. And when you're ready, baby, dream of a new life.
Cabin Life, Borrowed Heat by Catherine Serafina. Chapter 7, Stillwater, Part 2. The trees thinned more suddenly than I expected, opening onto the frozen lake all at once. It stretched wide and still beneath the winter sky, pale and unbroken except for a single dark shape near the center. Small, square, low to the ice. I stopped again, breath fogging in front of my face. Shane and Davis halted beside me without a word. I stared longer this time, trying to make sense of it. The shape was too far away to see clearly, but it was unmistakably deliberate. Roof angled just so, door facing the shoreline. Someone had built it. Recently, carefully. "What is that?" I asked again, quieter now. Shane's voice came warm and steady beside me. "That's it." Davis shifted his pack. "Come on, you'll see." Shane stopped short, clearly surprised. "You don't know? I've never seen one before," I said, pointing. "Is it a shed?" Davis laughed softly. "Close." "It's an ice shanty," Shane said. "For fishing?" I stared at it again, the shape suddenly making sense. Low, sturdy, squat against the open expanse of the lake. Something warm flickered in my chest as the idea settled. "You built that?" I asked. "Over time," Davis said. "Couple months, off and on." Shane nodded. "Finished it up recently, been waiting for a good day to actually use it." He glanced at me then, something quiet and pleased in his expression. "Didn't want to do it without you." That landed deeper than he probably intended. Not pressure, not expectation, inclusion. And the warmth that spread through my chest this time had nothing to do with the cold at all. Inside, it was better than I expected. The hut was tight but solid, built low against the wind, with just enough insulation to take the edge off the cold. Simple benches ran along the sides, worn smooth from use, and a small metal grill sat in the center holding a few glowing logs. Not for cooking, just heat. Enough to make the space feel lived in instead of temporary. The lake beneath us was a dark circle of moving water, quiet and patient. Shane handed me a can. "Don't get used to it." I laughed when I saw the beer. "You're kidding. So, one each?" Davis said. "And slow. This is not a celebration." We cracked them anyway, sipping instead of drinking, the cold biting sharply at the rim of the can before the taste settled in. It felt indulgent in a way that was almost absurd. 3 people sharing a beer in the middle of nowhere, while the world quietly fell apart somewhere far beyond the trees. For a while, we just fished. Lines dropped through the ice, breath fogging in the small space, the crackle of the fire filling the gaps between conversation. Shane caught the first perch. Not huge, but solid enough to make him grin. "Dinner starter," he said, holding it up before setting it aside. Davis got one not long after, then another. Both respectable, both very edible. "See," he said. "Skill." I watched, amused, my own line stubbornly still. "This thing hates me," I muttered. "Give it time," Shane said. "Lake decides, not you." We talked while we waited. Nothing heavy, just observations, stories that didn't matter much. Someone at a trading post trying to barter for a broken Furby, another insisting a chipped porcelain figurine was worth a box of ammo because it used to sit on their grandmother's dresser. "Ridiculous," Davis said, "but I get it." "I do too," I said quietly. "Sometimes it's not about the thing. It's about remembering what it felt like to care about something pointless." Shane nodded. "That's fair." He looked at me then. "If there's ever something you need, actually need, say so. We'll keep an eye out." I didn't answer right away. Just let that settle. Then my line jerked. Hard, I yelped before I could stop myself. Something's... Shane was already moving. Easy, don't rush it. The pull was stronger than I expected, the line vibrating as something fought back below the ice. Davis leaned in, guiding my hands, talking me through it like it was the most natural thing in the world. When the fish finally broke the surface, silver flashing in the firelight, all three of us froze. That, Davis said slowly, is a very good perch. Shane laughed outright. Well, damn. It was thicker than any of theirs. Heavy in my hands, slick and cold and undeniably real. I caught that? I asked, breathless. You did, Shane said. Guess the lake likes you. We caught a few more after that. Davis and Shane each pulling up one last fish while I set my rod aside, content. My hands were buzzing, my cheeks warm, something light and giddy fluttering in my chest that had nothing to do with the beer. While they kept fishing, I noticed a small stack of scrap wood tucked near the wall. Firewood mostly, but one piece caught my eye. Smooth, flat enough. I took out my knife and started carving. It felt good, familiar. The scrape of blade against wood. The slow emergence of shape and meaning. When I was done, I held it up. All are welcome. Please keep things tidy. Shane smiled when he saw it. That's perfect. We stepped outside together to hang it near the door, the wind sharper out here, the lake stretching wide and quiet around us. Just as we finished adjusting the wire, Davis pushed the door open behind us. He gave the sign a quick look and nodded. Yeah, that'll do. Then he rolled his shoulders, glanced toward the shoreline. I'm gonna take a piss and see if there's more kindling nearby. Fire's getting low and I don't want to rush things. Don't wander off, Shane called after him. Davis snorted softly and headed away, boots crunching over the snow-covered ice. For a second, it was just the two of us and the open lake. We went back inside, the warmth settling around us again. I sat down on the bench and picked up my fishing rod, more out of habit than expectation, letting the line dip back into the dark water below. The quiet stretched. Not awkward, just full. I felt Shane looking at me before he said anything, not staring, studying, like he was trying to place something he couldn't quite name. What? I asked, glancing over. He hesitated, then shrugged slightly. You look different. That made my stomach dip. Good different? I asked, trying to keep my voice light. His smile was immediate, certain. Oh, very good different. The warmth that followed surprised me. Quick and bright, like something fluttering open in my chest. I ducked my head without thinking, suddenly shy, suddenly aware of myself in a way I hadn't been a moment ago. Before I could overthink it, I leaned in and pressed a quick, soft kiss to his lips. I meant to pull back just as fast, but his hand came up without thinking, fingers brushing my cheek, holding me there. He pulled away and paused, looking directly into my eyes. His thumb shifted slightly like he was checking something, and his brow creased in faint surprise. Wow, he murmured before he seemed to catch himself. His gaze slipped from my eyes to where his hand still rested against my face, his thumb moving just a fraction more. Your skin, he said quietly. It's really soft. His hand, still warm against my cheek, lingered a second longer before he finally let it fall away. Then I pulled back just as fast, cheeks warm, turning my attention firmly back to the line in my hands. When Davis came back in a minute later, he paused just long enough to take us in. The space between us, the way we weren't quite looking at each other. He didn't say anything. Just set the small pan down, pulled out a couple cans of soup, and went about his business like nothing at all had happened. And somehow that felt like acknowledgement enough. No fish yet? I asked. Soup now, Davis said. Fish later. This'll keep us warm for the hike back. That made sense. Out here, warmth mattered more than indulgence. We ate, steam curling into the cold air, the lake quiet around us. By the time we packed up, fingers stiff and noses red, The light had shifted just enough to remind us we'd been there longer than planned. The hike back felt shorter somehow, lighter. Conversation flowed easily, laughter coming quicker, the promise of a real meal waiting at the cabin pulling us forward. We hadn't gone far when I slowed and lifted a hand. "Hold on a second," I said. "I need to pee." Shane stopped immediately. Davis glanced around and nodded toward a stand of trees just off the trail. "Take your time," he said. I stepped away from them, boots crunching softly over the snow, the cold sharper once I was alone. When I reached a bit of cover, I turned my back to the trail, and when I hooked my thumbs into the waistband, it slid lower than I expected. Loose in a way it hadn't been that morning. I paused, tugged it back up, then let it go again. Huh. And then paused. My penis? What was there wasn't long enough anymore. Not gone, just not enough to work the way it always had. Too close to my body, no way to aim or manage it standing the way I used to. I stared down for a second, heart thudding, then let out a quiet breath and adjusted without thinking too hard about it. I pulled my leggings down and squatted, steadying myself with one hand against a tree. The relief was immediate. It felt strange, different, but not wrong. Just another small adjustment, another thing my body seemed to already know how to do, even if my mind was still catching up. When I finished, I stood, pulled my clothes back into place, and took a moment before heading back. Not to panic, not to analyze, just to register it. Then I rejoined them on the trail. "Everything okay?" Shane asked casually. "Yeah," I said, and realized it was true. "All good." We kept walking. For a few hours, it had felt like the world wasn't ending at all. Just 3 people, still water, and the quiet satisfaction of something done together. I was more tired than I realized. The warmth of the cabin hit me all at once. Boots off, gloves dropped where I stood, layers peeled away without ceremony. Shane and Davis disappeared into their rooms with the unspoken understanding that we'd regroup in a bit. I went to mine and shut the door. For a moment, I just stood there, breathing, letting my body catch up to the day. Then, I turned toward the mirror. I'd avoided it on purpose earlier. Not fear exactly, just wanting the changes to finish their sentence before I listened. Now I looked. The first thing I noticed was my jaw. Or rather, the absence of the angles it used to have. The sharpness had softened, the line gentler, rounding into something that felt more intentional instead of incidental. My cheeks were fuller too, not dramatically, just enough to change the way my face held itself. I leaned closer. My lips caught my attention next. Plumper. Not exaggerated, not artificial, just fuller, softer, the kind of change you wouldn't question if you hadn't known what came before. When I pressed them together, they felt different, cushioned, responsive. My nose had shifted too. Subtle, but undeniable. Slightly smaller, more refined, like it belonged to this version of me in a way it hadn't before. I straightened slowly, taking it all in. There was no spike of panic, no urge to look away, just awe, a quiet, almost electric sense of oh, like seeing something come into focus after being blurry for far too long. I touched my cheek, then my mouth, tracing lines that felt newly mine. I held my gaze a second longer than I meant to. Then I smiled. The thought surfaced quietly, almost shy in its certainty. I look pretty. It surprised me. Not because it felt wrong, but because I'd never expected to think it at all. When I came back out, the cabin felt quieter. That good, heavy quiet that settles in after a long day. Everyone was moving slower now, fatigue smoothing the edges off everything. I headed for the stove on instinct. Shane looked up immediately. "Oh no," he said. "Absolutely not." I paused. "What?" "I've got this," he said, already stepping into my space, one hand gently but decisively taking the pan from me. "You caught it. You don't cook it." I laughed. "That's not a rule." "It is now." My laugh came out softer than I expected. Lighter, warmer. I felt it more than I heard it. The way the sound sat differently in my chest, the way it fit the moment without effort. It sounded like flirting, not pretending to be, just was. I tried to reclaim the pan, half-hearted and smiling, but he angled his body just enough to block me, grinning like he was enjoying this far too much. "Sit," he said, "before I make you." I rolled my eyes, but I did it. As I settled onto the chair, I caught Davis watching us from across the room. Not staring, just noticing. His gaze flicked away the second I met it, dropping back to the book in his hands like nothing had happened. That was when I saw the title, The Ultimate Survival Medicine Guide. He wasn't studying it, wasn't reading with urgency, just turning pages slowly, relaxed, like this was exactly where he wanted to be. Something warm settled low in my chest. Shane moved easily at the stove, comfortable, confident, the scent of cooking fish slowly filling the room. When he glanced back at me, his smile softened. Less teasing now, more fond. "What?" he asked. "Nothing," I said. "Just watching." He huffed a quiet laugh and went back to cooking. I became aware of how close we were, how easily he'd stepped into my space, how natural it had felt to let him. My cheeks warmed before I could stop it. Not unpleasantly. Shane moved with an ease I hadn't seen from him in the kitchen before, setting the pan on the stove, adjusting the heat by instinct rather than measurement. He cleaned the perch carefully, hands steady and sure. Trimming and working like this wasn't new territory at all. I must have been staring because he glanced up and smirked. "What?" "I didn't know you cooked," I said. He snorted softly. "Didn't know I didn't." Davis leaned back in his chair. "He's underselling. He used to go fishing constantly." Shane shrugged. "My dad insisted on it. Fishing, cleaning, cooking. All of it. Said knowing how to catch food didn't mean much if you didn't know what to do once you had it." He broke out a small tin of spices, using them sparingly. Salt first, a pinch of pepper, a touch of dried thyme. Then he hesitated, reached for one more thing, and smiled to himself. "This," he said, sprinkling just a little into the pan, was his trick. "What is it?" I asked. "Paprika," he said, "just enough to warm it up, not to taste like it." The fish sizzled softly, the smell filling the cabin. Clean, rich, comforting in a way that made my shoulders relax, without me realizing they'd been tense. Shane worked quietly after that, flipping the fillets with care, plating them simply. No fuss, no waste. When he finally set the plates down, he looked almost pleased. We ate together, talking and laughing in that low, easy way people do when no one's trying to fill the silence. The fish was perfect. Tender, flavorful, nothing flashy, just right. For a little while, with warm food in our bellies and the fire crackling low, it almost felt like nothing had ended. Later, as I rinsed my plate and turned toward the stove, Shane glanced up. "Hey," he said, "your hair looks nice like that." I paused, hand lifting on instinct. I'd forgotten to tie it back again. Or maybe the tie had slipped out sometime after we got back. I was pretty sure I'd had it in on the hike. Either way, it was loose now, brushing my jaw and neck when I moved. "Oh," I said, smoothing it behind my ear. "Thanks." I didn't stop there. I drew a small section forward, letting it fall into my line of sight, studying it like it belonged to someone else. Soft. Long enough to catch the light. Long enough to be in the way. "I've been thinking," I said mostly to myself, "I might cut it, just so it doesn't—" "No," Shane said immediately. Davis looked up at the same time. "Yeah, definitely don't." I blinked, startled. I was just... Shane laughed, just shaking his head. "You'll regret it. Trust me." Davis nodded. "It suits you." The ease of it, the certainty, caught me off guard. I felt myself smiling before I could stop it, a quiet warmth spreading through my chest that had nothing to do with the fire. "Okay," I said softly, "I won't." They both went back to what they were doing, like nothing unusual had happened, but it felt unusual to me. That night, as the fire burned low and the cabin settled around us, they called me Lainey, and I answered, not hesitantly, not by accident, just normally. It took me a moment to realize they'd been calling me that all evening, that it hadn't made me flinch, hadn't even slowed me down. I wasn't sure what that meant yet. But when I turned the name over in my head, it didn't feel foreign. It felt like something that had already found its place. For once, the world was quiet enough to let that be enough.
Thank you for listening. It feels good not to be alone.
Still lost in the dream, aren't you? Don't worry. I've got plenty more where that came from. Sweet, sexy, transformative little dreams. All just a click away. And if you're craving the naughty versions, the ones too hot for YouTube, you know exactly where to find them. On my Patreon. I'll be waiting, gorgeous.